Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Tyler with Bedford Camera and Video. This is an extra video that we're doing about the Fujifilm X-H2S. If you haven't seen our first look video on this incredible camera, check it out in the description below. In our previous video, we talked about a lot of the features, both photo and video, but we wanted to make a video specifically on the video/cinema features of this camera. If you happen to be somebody who primarily shoots video and wants to use this camera on your shoots, we want to get you comfortable with a lot of the menu options ahead of time. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we're in the video mode. When you put it in this mode on the dial, it's going to give you a dedicated video menu. Now that that's set up, let's turn the camera on. And you're going to see there's a lot of different information. We have our mic level here. Mine's a little bit hot, so I'm speaking a little bit too loud, closer, relative to the microphone. We also have a shutter speed, f-stop, ISO like you're used to on this photo side. But then on the top you're going to see we are in ProRes. So we're shooting ProRes 422 in the 6.2K 2997 frame rate with this particular card, which is a Delkin 512 gigabyte CF Express Type B card. Due to the high data rate of ProRes, it's giving us about 35 minutes. Now keep in mind, the camera we're using is a pre-production model, so by the time it gets released, the menu items could look a little bit different. This also tells you what card you're prioritizing, so we have the CF Express Type B card in card slot 1 and SD cards for slot 2. Currently we don't have an SD card in the camera at the moment. You can also see that we're using F-Log. Now let's press menu and go into it. First we're going to see on the movie setting side is the movie setting list. If you go into that, you're going to see a lot of different settings like your resolution, your frame rate. If I go into that, I can change it very easily. This camera goes up to 30 frames per second in the 6.2K mode. And that's at a 3:2 ratio, so bear that in mind. You can also go down to 24 frames or 29 or 23.98 if you're shooting for television. So we'll do that. We can go down to, this is where you can set it for ProRes, so we're going to go to card slot 1, or you can set it for relay recording or redundant recording, whatever you need to do for your shoot. Let's go back to card slot 1, that's all we're using at the moment. We can go over to, I'm using ProRes 422. You can go to ProRes HQ. It's going to change the amount that you can record on this card. And so you'll see that change automatically as we go through the settings. So there's your long op recording, your all-eye recording, and of course, like you're used to on the XT3, XT4, you can select the bit rate. So now let's go back down to H.265. It's a great codec. It's been around for a few years and it is highly efficient. So you can get some beautiful 422 color space out of your image while keeping the file sizes relatively small. If we go to any of the ProRes modes, that's going to be a higher bit rate. That's why you can't record as much onto these cards. But for now, let's leave it on ProRes 422. Now we can go down to F-Log and you can set this for whether it's nothing, and you can set it for F-Log on both inside the recording internally to the memory card, as well as going out to HDMI. You can go to F-Log 2 if you like, or HLG. We're going to keep it on F-Log for now. And what's helpful about using two types of media is we can use proxy recording. So go into proxy recording, we can turn on ProRes proxy or H.264 proxies. Sometimes you need to use that if you're using a laptop or you're having to send files via some sort of file transfer app, so you can edit that. Then once the hero footage is online, you can relink that and get your 6.2K beautiful master footage out there. And if you happen to be shooting RAW, which we don't have anything connected at the moment, you have your Atomos and your Blackmagic setups. Now this is something specific to the Atomos Ninja V and Ninja V Plus recorders. The Atomos Ninja V Plus will allow you to shoot 6.2K 30 frames per second and 4.8K at 60 frames per second. So you can go ahead and select that here in the menu. So that was for the V+. If you have the original Ninja V, you're going to be able to record 6.2K at 24 frames per second and 4.8K at 30 frames per second. So that's a decision you need to make. Do I need to shoot high res as well as high frame rate, or am I shooting 24 frames all the way through? Now we'll go down to the Blackmagic design setting. To record Blackmagic RAW or B-RAW into that recorder, you're going to utilize the Blackmagic Video Assist 12G. So either of the 12G models will accept this signal. Then you can take it directly into Resolve and edit away. We have our shooting mode, so you can set it for manual, program, all that good stuff. You have your movie mode. This is very similar to what we just saw. You can set it for 6.2K, 4K UHD, 4K DCI, and you can move it over into the frame rate modes. We have 4K DCI up to 60 frames per second. And then you go into your HD mode. Now, when you go into this mode, you won't automatically see those modes beyond 60 frames per second. You'll need to go into the tab below that. I'll show you here in just a second. But you can set your full HD mode. This is a 17:9. They have a 16:9 aspect ratio version as well. But let's say you need to shoot 240 frames per second in HD. Very simple. We'll go back, go to high speed record. So it's turned off at the moment. We will turn that on. So if you're setting it for HDMI only, great. We're going to do this in camera. So we're going to set it up for, we're going to move into here, the DCI 17:9 4K mode. This is going to give us up to 120 frames per second. So this is the recording mode, and then you have the playback mode. So when you play it back, it's going to play back in a 24 frames per second timeline very easily. You don't have to conform any footage later on. You can, of course, very well put it into a 60 frame per second timeline if you go to this mode. So let's go to the HD mode. Let's just go to the 16:9 since it's here. We can go up to either 120 frames per second or 240 frames per second. And again, the same thing. This is your playback mode. Media record setting. So right now, again, we're shooting with only one card. We only have the CF Express Type B card. Or you can go to the second card, the SD card slot. You can also set it for sequential, which is what I like to call relay recording or overflow recording. And then you also have backup recording, which is what I like to call the redundant recording. You can also go straight to HDMI, and now we're back. And then we have the proxy setting. So it's turned off at the moment. You can set that for ProRes proxies or H.264 proxies. Again, this is the same thing you'll find in that unified menu, that first option that we just looked at. You have your HDMI settings, your fixed movie crop magnification, and now here are your F-Log and HLG recordings. Again, this is redundant from what we saw earlier in that other menu. Keep going down. Data level setting, this is going to give you information about your bit rate. Flickerless shutter speed settings, you can turn this off or on. If you happen to be under some stadium lights that may not sync up with the shutter speed of what you're shooting. And then we have the IS modes. This is going to be very helpful if you're doing some sort of events, some sort of weddings, things like that, and you're doing it all handheld. So we have the IBIS with the OIS of the lens and the option to add digital stabilization. ISO settings, zebra levels, there we go. We're going to turn that. You can set it to zebra left or zebra right. And then you can set your zebra level from 50 all the way to, I believe it's 100. Yep, 100, so we'll keep it at 90 is a great spot. Movie optimized control. So this is the operation when using aperture. So this will keep the aperture ring from being used. So you either control it by the dial on the back or on the touch panel. This is going to keep you from bumping it while you're shooting. Now we have a tally light, so if you want people to know that you're recording, or if you don't want them to know that you're recording and you're trying to get some B-roll in a place that you want to really not be seen, you can set it for front or rear, on or off. One of them is for a solid light, and one of them is for a blinking light. So if you're used to some cameras that had that blinking light, wanted that attention of the speaker, you can have that enabled. Here's your cooling fan settings. So if you have that installed, you can set that for a few different levels. Automatic 1, low fan noise, automatic 2, prioritize the camera temperature. And then you have low and high, so you can keep it at a constant rate. If you want to make sure that it's on all the time, cooling down your camera, you can do that. We're going to keep it on auto for now. And then you have your custom modes. You can also set your subject detection setting, so you can turn that off or on. Right now it's set up for cats. You can set it for animals, birds, automobiles, motorcycles or bikes, airplanes, and trains. And there you have it. There's a basic rundown of the video features inside the menu of the X-H2S. If you want to make this part of your kit, visit any of our physical locations or online at bedfords.com. My name is Tyler with Bedford Camera and Video, and we'll see you next time.